Welcome back. And so, as we continue to reflect on the performance of this administration in different sectors, one of the very critical area, to assess would be security. There has been some progress made, but how impactful is this progress, and what more needs to be done to ensure that security of life and property is more enduring for the long run, rather than pocket gains? So let's have this conversation this morning as we have joining us Brigadier General Sani Usman, former Director of Army Public Relations and spokesman for the Nigerian Army, who joins us from our Abuja studio. You see him there. Brigadier Usman, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Defense Headquarters had said, just weeks ago that there is a foreign dimension, to the unrest, in fact, consistent attacks that we've experienced in Plateau, in Benue, and in other parts of the Northwest. And following this, we've now experienced, we're hearing about the arrest of 4 Pakistani nationals, who are training Boko Haram of ISWAP extraction. This, of course, brings another dimension to the fight against insecurity. What are your reflections on this, and specifically, what is the implication of this latest development?
Good morning once again. I think the implication is very, very worrisome, in the sense that because it has so many dimensions. Initially, people thought it was just a local problem, populated by mostly, Nigerian youth, and now having international affiliation, even though we have had this since 2016, when a faction of the Boko Haram terrorist group paid allegiance to ISWAP, to ISIS, and of course, metamorphosized into ISWAP. So automatically, the international dimension has always been there, but this new one, having arrested quite a few number of foreigners. And I made mention of this long time ago, that there were foreigners arrested, because we have had the information. It's just that the military did not come out with the information until now, because of the process of investigation to determine the level and the extent to which they have been involved. Because first, there is issue of gun running and, of course, intelligence, and including training and the use of sophisticated weapons. Take, for instance, the issue of drone, not necessarily for surveillance, but also armed drones. So this is a very worrisome and disturbing development, but I can rest assure you that notwithstanding, given the fact that the number is insignificant, I think is something that need to be looked from various dimensions, in the sense that there is need to critically evaluate how do they even come into this country, and who are their internal collaborators and what are their external collaborators. And I'm so happy that people are beginning to understand that actually the counter-insurgency, or the fight against terrorism and insurgency in this country, it is not just for the security agencies or the military. These criminal elements are determined to destabilize Nigeria and Nigerians, as it were. Therefore, it requires collective efforts on the part of each and every one of us. That means we look at who are those involved. How do they even come about? Initially, we have had instances, people from within the continent, particularly West African sub-region, participating in this heinous crime. Now it is beyond the African continent, and given the experience they have had, Pakistan has been at loggerhead, with India for almost 78 years, and whoever their terrorists are well experienced, and so for them to bring in their experience and knowledge to add to what we have in the local problem we have, it is very, very disturbing and worrisome. But I am so happy with the call for action on the part of the security agencies, particularly the Theater Command, in which they are making concerted effort to see whether there will be more international collaboration to stem this tide.
All right. Mr. Usman, you have, retired Brigadier General, pardon me, you have said something significant that, you know, the intention is to destabilize Nigeria. So whether it's, you know, Pakistani nationals training Boko Haram in the country, or it is foreign elements of, you know, foreign Fulani extraction on the north central causing mayhem, that seems to be the end game. But to what extent, why do foreign mercenaries, why are they hired to destabilize Nigeria? I think that is the more important question. What do they stand to gain?
Is an economic situation or an economic system that revolves around complex situation. Whenever there is problem, there are people that, despite the fact that it brings suffering, death, and destruction, to some people it is just a business opportunity. So people benefit from it. Sometimes, and in most instances, even the, you know, the efficacy of the terrorists, you know, that of a foreign terrorist has no compassion, has no affiliation with Nigerians, so definitely they are far more wicked as compared to those local terrorists, you know, that populated Boko Haram. So that is issue number one. Secondly, of course, naturally, you cannot bring in people from elsewhere without paying them. To them, we have had instances, Nigerians going out of their way to go and fight in other countries, for instance, Ukraine and elsewhere, simply because the motivation of pecuniary gain is there. Then the third and most important aspect is the issue of ideology. Remember, Boko Haram is determined to create an Islamic state within the Nigerian state. So automatically, anybody with likely ideology or mindset would like to contribute his or her best to the, you know, the cause of, you know, of the Boko Haram terrorists. So these are the things. Then the other fourth one is the issue of international dimension. You know, it's the issue of conspiracy theory, whether we like it or not, is there. Nigeria has the great potential to be one of the greatest countries on this earth. Why? Because God has blessed us with two important things: the mineral resources and the human resources. And the most important aspect of it is the human resources, because Nigerians, they are very, very creative, very resilient, very intelligent. And that is why pick any country. So these developed countries, you will see that there is a Nigerian there in the helms of affairs contributing his or her best in any way possible. Now, people do not want Nigeria to be in peace, because by the time we live in peace and harmony with one another, the potential in us, the creativity in us will be, you know, unleashed for the development of this country, and we take on the world. So a lot of people are apprehensive, including those that are our neighbors within the West African continent, the African continent, and of course the world at large. You remember the various effort, you know, prediction that Nigeria will disintegrate way back almost 20 years ago, and we are still standing. And in fact, there is a story of a former Secretary General of UN who said he prepared to stay in Nigeria. They asked him why. When he retires, he said, look, this is a country that has had crisis that ordinarily it would have broken up 100 times over and is still standing. So a lot of people are not too comfortable with Nigeria to be, you know, united and progressive. So these are the things that we want every Nigerian to understand, that look, it is our collective responsibility to ensure that Nigeria remains a united country so that we can, you know, realize our potentials, so that we will live in peace and contribute to the well-being of our society, and of course to peace and security in the world. Remember, some time back, Nigeria was the fourth true contributing country to the United Nations peacekeeping effort, and so many others, and you name it. So basically, when you put all this together, you will understand the reasons or the motivation for, foreigners to come into the country to contribute in any way they can to the stabilization of this country. And remember again, one other and the most saddest aspect of it is the fact that Nigerians are working at cross purposes with each other. And we are calling on those in the position of authority, you don't fight a battle of this nature with a divided house. When it comes to issue of security, everybody ought to be on the same page, devoid of extraneous variables of religion or ethnicity, as it were. So basically, these are the issues. Simply because you are not in government, sometimes we feel like, no, it is us versus them, or even in the Nigerian society, in most instances, it is the military or the security forces against the criminal elements. No, these people are fighting on our behalf, so it is the Nigerian state as it is. And you and me constitute what the Nigerian state is.
And that's a very important mindset to have if we'll win this fight. This conversation is happening smack in the middle of President Bola Tinubu's midterm. So naturally, it holds a lot of significance, because when you want to rate any government, you start with the security of things, of lives, property, you talk economy, welfare, and all of that. So security is a major pillar of any government, one that it must not joke with. I wanted to speak to those who may find this as a convenient excuse, this foreign dimension part of it, because they'll tell you that foreign interference is almost as constant as day and night. There will always be some foreign entity, individual, organization trying to destabilize any country at any given day. I mean, that is constant. That's what you have. Even the United States experiences this. All countries experience this. So it's a constant thing. So having this come up yet again may be curious to some people who say, well, that's why we have government, right, to ensure that both threats in-house and from outside are dealt with. So I want you to speak to that specifically now. For those who find this as a convenient excuse, isn't that why we have government? What is government doing, particularly this administration, to ensure that whether it's foreign interference or from home, they are dealt with decisively?
You see, I'm so grateful for this kind of question, and the fact that, because it speaks to the heart of the issues of the challenges, particularly security challenges that we are having in this country. The issue of collective responsibility. The thing is that, yes, people have been, there are those who are statutorily responsible for the, safety and security in this country. But of course, they are not magicians. It is a collective responsibility, even though they take lead in the sense that given sense of direction and strategy and allocation of resources, and so be it. But the long and short of it is that it is a collective responsibility. Each component has a role to play. Take, for instance, right from the family system, the educational system, and of course, even at workplaces and all the rest, and the professional groups, each and every one of them has a role to play, because everything that we are doing, you can never have a meaningful development or progress without, acceptable level of security in this country. And unfortunately, it's the issue is still work in progress, in the sense that we have not reached the desired end. And most unfortunately, again, geopolitics has come into play. But I think the most important thing is to put our house in order. Let us all be united. Let Nigerians have greater sense of belonging. And of course, improving the social, economic well-being so that they can contribute their best. And in any case, the people who really, patriotic, hardworking, and determined to make sure that Nigeria works are not enticed or, distracted by the criminal elements within the society. And in any case, they are insignificant number. So, and the earlier we conscientize ourselves, mobilize the Nigerian society so that we will be, united in dealing with the security challenges, the better. Then, of course, those that are in position of responsibility also have a great role to play. Take, for instance, pick any of the security challenges. What are their root causes? What are their motivations? Sometimes they are local issues. Look at how we have been, going up and down or back and forth with the issue of local government autonomy. Whereas we know it, by the time the local governments are up and doing optimally, definitely bulk of the security challenges could have been mitigated because people have the capacity of dealing with local issues locally. So that is it. And beyond that, again, over time we have been emphasizing on kinetic aspect of dealing with security challenges. What of the non-kinetic aspect? And I always like to relate it. Take, for instance, the counter-insurgency effort, where let's put it on scale of 100%. The kinetic aspect, which is the security or the coercion, is more or less like less than 40%. So what happened to the 60%? And that is where the issue lies. And we have to look at it from that perspective. And there are, grievances among the components of Nigerian society, and we are not addressing them. And I hope places like Plateau, now with the fact-finding mission, it is not just enough to have them, but whenever there are far-reaching recommendations with implementation strategies, they should be followed up, unless, of course, if they are not realistic. So we have to go back to the drawing board and look at all those issues. Why are we having this problem? What have we been doing about it? Take, for instance, even the issue of community policing. And now it has not been followed through since 2013. Now state governments are left with their own initiatives. And it shouldn't be so. Because if you look at the constitutional provisions, there is also, the provision for police council. Police council is a constitutional, provision to be headed by the president, and of course state governors are all members. How many times have they met within the last 25 years? Some of these problems could be traced locally, but unfortunately we are chasing shadows in some instances unless we go back to the core value, the issue of good governance, so that we can deal with these security challenges as it were.
Very, very critical reminders that you have put forward, Brigadier General Usman. The constitution of the police council, the failure to meet, to deliberate on critical issues of security, and of course, the non-kinetic aspect. We could expand these issues further, but we must anchor at this point and return to them yet again to serve as a reminder for, the relevant agencies and indeed the government that deploys them. We've been talking with Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Usman, retired, former Director of Army Public Relations and former spokesman for the Nigerian Army. Thank you so much, sir, for coming through on this one.
Thank you so much.